Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to Absolutely. My name's Hassan, and today we're going to talk about that Invincible finale. Dan has been here on the show, and he'll review the whole season with me sometime later. I didn't remind him to watch Invincible, and it's not on his corner of the internet. No one's been talking about it, but on my corner, oh my God, discussions because we got Spider-Man, sort of, in this episode. The episode picks up with Mark Grayson flying home after the horror that was the episode of Anissa holding Amber's neck hostage. That's probably one of the most anxiety-ridden scenes I've probably ever seen in animation. The thing is, I've read the comics, so I in my brain I'm like, oh, Amber's not going to die. But the way the show builds suspense and the changes that they're making, it really has become such an unpredictable thing for me to watch. And I think they handled things so much better than they did in the comics. I think, I've vocally never been a fan of Amber in the TV show or Amber in the comics. Amber in the comics is more annoying that she's there. Amber in the TV show is more outwardly rude and awful, but at the same time, this season really makes you feel for this character. They really humanize Amber, and exiting that storyline together, leaving, breaking them up, worked really, really well in how it happened. You can see the heartbreak, having Anissa be the moment for that, because in the comics, here's a little comic spoiler tag here. In the comics, Mark kind of cheats on Amber with Adam Eve, and Amber kind of cheats on Mark with some guy who we actually see multiple times. Turns out they weren't going to do anything with it, but they did animate the guy who the exact design in the comics who cheats with Amber. So they went a whole different route, really added weight to that, and kind of showing how important Mark's connections are and how heartbroken he was in this sequence of events. So he's really feeling down, feeling sad, and then he has to bolt home because Angstrom Levy is holding his mother and his brother hostage. And oh my God, Sterling K. Brown, amazing talented actor. I watched him in This Is Us, big fan of that NBC drama for years. I mean, he stole the show. He absolutely stole the show. This Invincible has kind of been like the big heavyweights of voice actors for a while now. You're getting well-renowned voice actors, but also kind of just talented actors entering the voice space, like Sandra Oh, and we know J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson in a lot of different mediums, but and he was Tenzin and Korra. I feel like this might be his definitive voice acting role as well. Seth Rogen kind of will play jokey cameo characters as himself, but him here as Alan the Alien, incredible. And then Stephen Yeun has just blown my mind, especially during a specific moment we'll talk about in a little bit that happened in this episode with how talented he is. Still, with all that said, Sterling K. Brown's Angstrom Levy was insane. The inner turmoil, the anger, the frustration, all of that was mind-boggling to see. So you have Invincible coming to fight him, and he is popping portals out, sending him to alternate worlds, where basically Invincible's having his own little adventures. We don't know how much time passed in these worlds, whether he's gone for 20 seconds or 2 weeks. In the Spider-Man tie-in book that happens during this part of the comic books, Invincible goes on a whole adventure where he meets the Avengers and a whole bunch of things. But in the Invincible book, all you get is that initial meeting and then a spider web on his foot when he comes back. And very similarly, in this episode, during the multiversal sequence, we have Invincible meet the one and only Agent Spider. Yep, sadly, our predictions were wrong, and Spider-Man wasn't in it. Turns out the Amazon executives and the people working Invincible didn't even ask because they just did not want to deal with the legal ramifications, because if they asked, they're basically putting themselves in Sony's crosshairs. So instead, they used Agent Spider and did a parody, but it's really cool because it is voiced by the legendary Josh Keaton, the spectacular Spider-Man, and he is just mind-bogglingly talented. You get just a little snippet of him in this episode, but it's really good. And some of the good old folks on Twitter have actually gone on to reanimate this entire sequence with him in a Spider-Man suit, which is crazy. They did it in 2 days by the time I'm filming this. Literally been 2 days since the episode, and they're already churning stuff out like this. But I know fans were really disappointed. My personal thoughts are, first glance, I would rather have Spider-Man. Of course, I'd rather have Spider-Man, but they did it so well, and it was so fun. And I think that as fans, we should just find a way to love this version of Spider-Man, because it's a Spider-Man variant for us. He even has a bit of dialogue that makes it a direct tie into Across the Spider-Verse, where Agent Spider's like, Dude, I know we've been dealing with plenty of multiversal stuff recently, and it's so good. But Josh Keaton did a phenomenal job both as Agent Spider and also as the jogger in the opening of the episode. Don't know if you guys caught that, but that was also him. So you get a bunch of cameos. You get a Batman cameo as well, where Mark is sitting on a rooftop and he's like, "Wait, so your name's you dress like a bat and you're a man? Don't you think that's kind of lazy?" Which is just classic Invincible style humor. Love to see it. And it's kind of a moment of levity in an otherwise very dark, upsetting scene. Watching Mark's mom get her arm broken and all she's doing is crying for Oliver really was probably one of the most intense things I've ever watched ever. So that was really, really just jarring, upsetting. I don't know what the words to describe it are, but I would say this episode was just emotionally impactful. This was a finale in every right. And that's the thing, too. A lot of people are saying that it didn't feel like a finale because of Invincible's standards. Invincible, every single episode leaves you feeling like this is the series finale. So this episode was exactly that. But sometimes it's really weird that it feels like that, because then it's like maybe they need to be even bigger for the final episode. But during the sequence of events, finally, Mark gets to properly throw down with Angstrom Levy after hitting him in the face with a Fortnite sniper rifle, because there was a Fortnite crossover in the middle of this, and they are on a desolate sand world, and Invincible goes full Omni-Man and absolutely rips into Angstrom Levy, shot for shot, almost recreating how Omni-Man beat Invincible at the end of season 1. It's this very horrifying sequence, blood everywhere, and then the horror on Mark's face. And this is when we're going to give our praise to Stephen Yeun, because, oh my God, his voice during the sequence is incredible. You can hear pain, anger, frustration, hurt, sadness all at once. And then he wanders the desert, and you can actively see him going insane until he's saved by the Guardians of the Globe from 20 years in the future. You get a much older Adam Eve, a much older robot now going by Rex, and and then Eve confesses her love for Mark. That's, one of the things that I think Invincible fans have been waiting on. Distaste for Amber aside, Adam, Eve, and Invincible have had this nonstop chemistry that we've been wanting to see into fruition. So we finally got that little moment, and then they sent Mark back to Earth, and it's just continued desolate, pure sadness, no joy, no hope kind of moments happening here. And we get a little sequence of Invincible on a bridge somewhere in San Francisco with Adam Eve. And in the comics, some little comic book spoilers here, it's a lot more overtly romantic, because before Mark and Amber even broke up, Eve and him had kissed, so there kind of was a precedent for it. And a lot of these events are happening out of sequence now. That Sequid invasion actually happened before a lot of this. So they're really flying by the seat of their pants, which is really, really cool. And they're doing something entirely different. So instead of getting a more gratuitous confession of romance, we got a really subtle scene of love and care. And I think that's going to build into their relationship into this next season. But overall, I mean, this was a 9 out of 10 for me. The only way it could be a 10 out of 10, and I'd hate to say, you guys are going to hate me, is if the Spider-Man cameo happened, just because that at that point, and a 10 out of 10 is exceeding expectations. And this met them and then some, but didn't fly all the way up to the sun there. But I genuinely love this episode of Invincible. I think the whole cast should, God, all receive Emmy nominations or whatever you get for voice acting, because goddamn, it's a good episode. Great resolution of the season. It really left me wanting more, which is kind of sad considering the production cycles of these shows. But I digress. But I'm Hassan. This is Absolutely, and that's my little finale review of Invincible. Stay tuned to this channel if you like Invincible, because me and Dan will be breaking down the whole back half of season 2 of Invincible very, very soon. Until then, I hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day. Bye-bye.